Back in the 80s, I was the consummate street artist. I was working a full-time job in corporate America, and I was an artist on the weekend, and I would just go all over Southern California. One of the places that's historically was Laguna Beach. And Laguna Beach is known for the greeter. If you go to Laguna Beach on Pacific Coast Highway, there's an old guy with a beard down to here, and he lives in a covered wagon on this lot where the artists congregated. And he would stand on the street corner waving to everybody. And he had this old cane, and he just stands there and waiting. And historically, they erected a big statue in his honor. He's long passed away. But there's been other greeters that come out there. But anyway, I had a long relationship with him, and he basically showed me the ropes. I was doing not African American art at that time. I was doing seagulls and dolphins and sea scenes and crazy things like mushrooms and little people called little people.
You make coloring books.
Yeah, make coloring books out of them. But I was making money on the weekend. It was a hustle, real hustle. Then I got introduced to a lot of artists in Los Angeles, and I guess I was an arm length ahead of them in terms of being a street artist, and coming back to LA in the 80s was a welcoming experience, because now I can do something for African American people. And because when Cosby, back in the 80s, in the Cosby Show, when they put those black images in his home, that was a profound effect that affected people all over the United States, not locally in Los Angeles. And people said, ooh, this is a middle-class family, and they got all this artwork on the wall that we, as a people, wasn't accustomed to buying. So Mr. Cosby single-handedly started a billion-dollar industry, and that was the affordable African-American art industry. And when I say billions of dollars, has been quoted by analysts from the early 1980s through the glorious golden age of the 1990s. Billions of dollars were made and spent in that industry alone. That was an economic opportunity for a lot of artists at that time. It's on Brenda Joy Smith was quoted to making over $2 million in a year selling her images. And this is not something that's put out there publicly to impress people. That was real. And thousands of artists took part of that bonanza. I was one of the artists because my whole notion is that why should people go to museums, quote museums, or academia art galleries, and go to these places knowing good and well you couldn't take any of it home. Financially, it wasn't available for you. Hard-working African Americans, you know, spent all their money on shelter, transportation, and food. If you take part in art, it does nothing for you. It only satisfies the ego. Now, that became an important ingredient in the struggle for African Americans, is to have something that represents them. Have something in their homes that will inspire their kids. Okay? Have something in homes that look like you. We satisfy that need. Okay? And that's what I didn't get into the market until you created the market. What creates a market in business? Demand. Okay, if there's no demand for a thing, there can't be a market for a thing. Everybody agree with that? So black people says, I want to spend $100. I'll spend $200. I'll spend $300 for images that look like me. So that's all we had to do. It was easy for us. That's all we had to do is produce it. Then we had to find a way of mass producing it and putting it on the open market. So during that period, between the mid-'80s and the end of the '90s, over 3,000 galleries opened up that catered to African American art. Okay? And that's what enabled me and 1,000 others like me to make a living full-time. Now, I quit my full-time job in 1993 as a result. I was talking to Eric earlier, of a heart attack. And I says, God is telling me to stop messing around and get busy. So the rest is history. But when those planes hit those buildings in New York, everybody got scared. Okay, so they pull their resources back and say, this scares me. I'm going to wait and see what this economy has to offer. And that was the downfall of that industry. After the buildings in 2000, over the next 10 years, there was a definite curtail. And I'm not saying that African Americans could not continue to buy. They just refused to buy because there are more important things. So the market fell. And I have to say, in the last 2 or 3 years, it's coming back. You being here today is a testament of that. People are coming in here actually buying the art instead of just looking at the art. So for a long time, you were just absent. Didn't support it at all. And for good reason, we understood that. But all those 3,000 galleries went under. Just went out of business. But it's coming back. Now we're starting to get new clients. New buyers are coming back into the game. Now most of my collectors are as old as me. So are they buying? They come to me and says, well, I have no more walls. Right? We created a song about no walls. My sales staff, and we do it as a joke. And our ultimate goal is to find the million new collectors, the young collectors that are looking for the same reason that they were looking for art back in the '80s. Which is good for us, which is good for you, because now we're looking, like I was explaining earlier, we're looking for crossover. We're looking to represent our culture so well that other cultures will take part in it. Okay, we have been buying into a lot of other cultures all our existence, buying into Oriental art and African American as well as African art, European, Asian art. I know a lot of you have Asian furniture and things that we just appreciate. We want to get to the point where that can be reciprocated in a reverse, where people buy into African American art. So we've been making gains in that. So that is the history, and the history continues.